But folks, thank you for coming in. I am Digvijay Gagneja. I'm Chief Operations Officer at Leverage Edu. Leverage Edu is India's most trusted university admissions service, right? And we are here today to answer any questions that you may have around MBA in UK, right? So any questions around why to do an MBA and why UK, and what kind of universities offer the MBA program, what are the pros and cons of different universities, the application process, and how do you choose between different locations. I'm going to answer all these questions in today's live stream. A little bit about myself and my profile. I myself done my MBA from ISB in India, and I've studied engineering at IIT Kharagpur. I also have a little bit of study abroad experience myself at Duke University's Fuqua School of Business and State University of New York at Buffalo. And I also have varied experience across consulting with McKinsey and Company and with venture capital companies, right? And I think more importantly, with Leverage Edu, I've counseled hundreds of students, and at Leverage Edu, we've counseled thousands of students and helped them get to their dream universities abroad, right? So all geared up and charged to ensure that you all get your questions answered around MBA in UK, right? So let's get started. Let me first, answer a question around who is best suited to do an MBA, right? Ideally, the ideal profile for anyone, bare minimum profile for anyone to do an MBA would be someone who has around 3 or more years of work experience. And if you have your work experience around a little bit to do around some form of leadership ability that you would have exhibited, even better, right? Apart from that, anyone who's say looking for a career in general management or in consulting or in financial services or in supply chain operations, HR or other managerial roles, an MBA is the right degree for you after an undergrad and 3 years of work experience to solidify your base foundation and go ahead into these careers in the country of your choice, right? So that's what I would say would be an ideal candidate for an MBA program. Of course, there are more sort of requirements that come in as and when you go to different universities, right? And I'll talk more about that in this live stream going ahead, right? But let me answer the second question. Why UK, right? Why should you consider doing an MBA in the UK? I think one of the biggest factors when it comes to UK is the duration of the program, right? Most of the MBA programs in the UK are a 1-year program, versus if you look at all the other programs that are top rated typically in the US happen to be 2-year programs. So what that means is a lot more, 2 years of tuition fee coming in, and secondly, a big opportunity cost also that gets associated with it, right? What I mean by opportunity cost is that in your second year, where you could have been already in the workforce having a career making salary, instead of that in a 2-year MBA program, in your second year as well, you're paying tuition fee and foregoing the salary that you could have been earning if you were employed after your MBA. So that's one very big plus for the MBA. The other big, for the MBA in UK, I mean, right? And the other big plus that you should consider is the 2-year post-study work visa that UK has to offer. And this is going live from May and June 2021. So anyone who graduates post-June 2021 will get 2 years bare minimum to study, to work in the UK after they've graduated. This was not the case before. Earlier, students who do MBA programs in the UK would have to find a job within 4 months, or they would have to go back to their home country. So as an international student going to the UK, this is actually very, very good news. And it doesn't just stop there. UK has also come out with a proposal to implement a PR, a points-based PR path, right? A path to PR, very similar to how it is in Australia or Canada, right? So the specifics for that have still yet to be released by the UK Home Office. But what it essentially means is, after you graduate, you get 2 years post-study work visa. Within those 2 years, as the rule stands right now, if you have a job that is related to your degree, wherein you're basically doing a job after your MBA that you intend to do, and not essentially say open up a restaurant. If you're doing any decent corporate job and earning more than £25,000 annually, you can go ahead and apply for a tier 2 work visa. What that gives you is an extended work visa for 2 to 3 years of duration, right? Post which you can further apply for extensions and indefinite leave to stay and citizenship over the course of 8 to 10 years. That's how it stands today. Of course, there will be a points-based PR system that will be released by UKVI, the UK Home Office, very soon, and we'll get much more clarity. But it is currently touted that it would be a lot more easier for students to stay back and have a good, path to PR in the future. So yeah, it is the right time for you to do an MBA in the UK. I think third big reason on why you should, do an MBA in the UK is that it's cheaper, right? Not just from a one-year perspective, but also the fact that most of the top-rated programs, for example, in the US, would be slightly more expensive, going upwards of about 60, 70,000 US dollars, or even more for the top-rated ones, going up to like 80, 90,000 US dollars per annum. Whereas when it comes to the UK, you can get started with an MBA with as low as about 17 to 18,000 pounds per annum, right? And of course, there are some universities offering a sort of modified form of an MBA, and I'll talk more about it. These are called international MBA programs or global MBA programs that are not the regular MBAs, but are even cheaper. So I'll talk more about them as I go in deeper, right? So I think I've answered, recapping, two questions for you, right? Why an MBA, who's best suited for an MBA, and why UK? So now that we've covered both these aspects on MBA in UK, let's dive deeper, right? So what are great schools to do an MBA in the UK? There are a lot of good schools in the UK for an MBA. It starts from, say, an LBS, London Business School, which is probably the top-rated global school as well for an MBA. And then there's Oxford and Cambridge and Imperial College of London, and most of you would have heard of them. But you know what? There are a lot of other schools that also offer great MBA programs and much more relaxed restrictions for you to be able to apply and get an admit. For example, the University of Warwick, which has a Warwick Business School, University of Edinburgh, Durham University, Strathclyde Business School, Sheffield Management School, and a Liverpool MBA, right? All these are great schools to go and do an MBA, and this is just a small part of the very big list that you have of universities offering great MBA programs and a great ROI for students looking to do an MBA, right? And the best part about these universities is, say, if you are not someone who feels like, you can be, you don't want to give a GMAT, you feel like, it doesn't seem like you're best suited to go to an LBS or an Oxford or a Cambridge, I think there's a lot of good schools out there which allow you to do an MBA without giving a GMAT. So if you're facing issues of, being able to score a good GMAT score, you can always apply to these universities, especially if you have like a great work experience profile, you have a diverse background, you can add value to their class, you can explain that through your essays, and without having a GMAT, you can still get admits to these universities, right? Another interesting thing is, for example, there's one university called University of Hull, which essentially offers to its international students the same tuition fee that it does to its students domestically. So a UK student will be paying the same fee as an international student. So what that essentially means is, for a 2 years executive MBA program at Hull, you're going to be paying £19,000 only, right? Unfortunately, Hull does not offer a 1 year MBA program, but only executive MBA programs. But there are other management programs that you can look at, which will essentially be as cheap as less than £10,000 for a 1 year program. It's like less than 10 lakhs. I think it's even cheaper than what you would expect in India, right? The other big thing that comes about these schools is the triple accreditation. What does this mean? So a triple accreditation is basically accreditation offered to MBA programs. So there are three kinds of accreditations. There is EQUIS, there is AMBA, and there is AACSB. AMBA is the American Association of MBAs. It's an American body. EQUIS is more European, and there is the AACSB. And any school that has all the three accreditations is basically recognized globally, right? So you do an MBA from a Triple Crown accredited university, you get access to, and you get your degree gets recognized everywhere. So for example, ISB, which is like a top-rated MBA program, has been trying to get a triple accreditation for a long time, and last year itself they were able to get the Triple Crown accreditation. So it's a big deal. There are less than 100 schools globally that have Triple Crown accreditation, and for your benefit, UK has a lot of these universities that give the Triple Crown accreditation. For example, a Strathclyde University or an Aston. University of Strathclyde, Aston, or a University of Sheffield, all of these are Triple Crown accredited universities. And again, in the price bracket, that is somewhere about 25,000 to about 30,000 pounds annually, and have a great placement record as well. In fact, Strathclyde used to be the top 100 FT ranked MBA program up till a couple of years ago. So very, very renowned university as well. Uh, all right, let's now switch gears and talk about how to apply and get an admit for an MBA program in the UK, right? So it varies, right? The MBA application process varies across universities, right? So if I were to talk about the Oxbridge or the LBS or the Imperials of the world, the complexity is a little more in the application process, and it keeps going down in terms of complexity as you go to other universities such as a Warwick, Edinburgh, or a Durham, or a Strathclyde, or a Sheffield, or a Liverpool, right? What that means is, when I talk about complexity, ideally there are three components to your entire admission process, right? There is a component around your profile, which is essentially judged with your undergraduate studies that you've done, how well you've scored, what is your work experience, where have you worked, what is the quality of your work experience and duration of your work experience, what leadership potentials have you exhibited. Thirdly, there is, of course, the essays that you write, right? And the complexities of these essays become more and more important. So, for example, an LBS would have as many, an LBS or an Oxbridge would have as many as 5 or 6 essays to be written across different situations that you would have faced in your lifetime, and it becomes a little more complex, those applications. As you go down to the universities such as a Durham, or a Strathclyde, or a Sheffield, or a Liverpool, it becomes a lot simpler. It's about literally saying, I'm going to apply with my basic documents that prove which university I did my study from, what is the marks that I've scored, and on top of that, there is a simplified one essay in most of these universities. That one essay is basically called the statement of purpose, as to which covers 3 aspects as to why you want to do an MBA, why in that particular university, and why should the university choose you. Cover these 3 parts, and that's a very simplified form of an SOP that you would need to write. So yeah, broadly, the application part is slightly more complex with an LBS and an Oxbridge. It becomes less and less complex for the other universities, right? And mind you, again, it's not because an Oxbridge and an LBS are like 100x better than the other universities. It is just the way these universities try and evaluate. So don't read much into it. I think the other universities are also very good in terms of their ranking and the ROI they offer on an MBA program, right? So step 1 is apply. Once you apply, all the MBA programs require you to give an interview, right? So the interview is mandatory for all MBA program applications, right? And these interviews, again, are a way for the admissions committee of these universities to judge how good would you be in the class from the perspective of not just you being able to take away a lot from the class, but also you being able to add a lot of value to the class. Right? So the idea with all these MBA programs is to ensure that whoever is in that MBA class, that class could be of 200, 400 students at an LBS to just about 50, 60 people to say a Strathclyde, at a Strathclyde, right? Or a Liverpool. And the idea of building this class in an MBA program is such for an admissions committee that they bring in a lot more diversity to the program, right? So that diversity essentially comes in by the kind of disciplines that people in the class come from in terms of their work experience, in terms of also the diversity they bring with the different countries and cultures they come from, right? And hence you're able to add value to the class, and your colleagues or classmates can learn more from you as much as you can learn from yourself. Right? So an interview as well as the application process is going to judge you a lot on what you bring to the class as much as what you can take back from the class as well, right? So yeah, keep that in mind while designing your applications and giving your interviews. So yeah, that's about the application process. Typically, it takes nearly 2 to 3 months for you to be able to go from starting an application to getting an offer letter in your hand. Few universities are very, very quick. A Strathclyde, an Aston, and the likes, you would have an offer letter in your hand after having given an interview. So application, interview, offer, all of that should get done in about 2 to 3 weeks time. And a few universities might even take, a Warwick, an Imperial College, and the likes would take probably about 2 months for the process to go through and for you to get an offer letter in your hand. All right. I think last thing that I would want to cover in today's live stream would be how do you pick a location, right? I think that's a very important consideration as well in just, in addition to just saying which is the highest ranked school and I will go there, right? So for example, if you wanted to build a career only in London and you're just in love with London, you should probably prefer a university that's based out of London. Um, and and that way you would have a higher chances of converting a job that is in London. However, it's not as simple as that, right? If I were to weigh the pros and cons of a university in London, pros are that, yeah, if you want to go get a job in, say, consulting, finance, law, design studios, fine arts, etc., you should look at London as an opportunity hub, because that's where most of these jobs are, right? And to get to these jobs, get to an MBA school that provides you an MBA in London, right? That way you'd be able to apply and be closer to London and careers that are offered in London. Of course, the competition is also very high in London, right? So a few cons when you look at about London is, one, it's really, really expensive. It's about 30% more expensive than all the other cities out there, right? And secondly, you miss out on a beautiful campus life that you might be looking for out of an MBA program as well. So unfortunately, most of the campuses in London are city campuses. What that means is these are generally buildings in the campus, and you don't buildings in the city, and you don't essentially get a feeling of being in a huge campus with like 15, 20,000 students there across all disciplines, apart from just the 60 to 400 people in your MBA class. You don't get to enjoy the countryside. So if you're thinking of using the time for an MBA to really cut off, take the time for your self-learning, be in a beautiful campus, be away from the hustle bustle of the cities, and just be like in a nice, green, great, archaic, and say, what do you call, those vintage campuses that are out there. I think that's also a great opportunity, and to each his own, right? Where you want to go. But typically, I personally prefer country campuses more than city campuses, and yeah, that is also reflected in all the choices I've made where I've studied all these years. So yeah, that's probably the big difference. And what are these country campuses? Again, for example, if you look at Birmingham, that's the second biggest country in the UK. So it's not just London. There is Bristol, there is Liverpool, in Scotland, there's Glasgow, there's Edinburgh, and so yeah, multiple cities out there that you can explore, Leeds, Bath, and whatnot, right? Beautiful cities, beautiful areas that you should also consider. And another myth busting, if you are really determined, you want to go and get a job in London alone, it's not like it's completely impossible. It'll just require a little more hustle on your part to probably connect with people in London and fly in there and figure out a way to wow them and get a job, right? It just would be a little more difficult than being on a London campus, but again, it's not impossible. Many people do it. All right, so that's about it from me on MBA in the UK. So somebody's asked that I want to study Master in Sports Management. Is it good? It's a fantastic option if you're really, Somadeep, if you're really, really interested in doing Masters in Sports Management. There are really, really good universities out there that offer this program, and especially being in Europe, your career options being in sports management are really good. In fact, there is this university called St. Mary's University in Twickenham in London, and much of other universities that actually have partnerships with, say, football clubs, the Chelsea Football Club and other football clubs, and get you guaranteed internships for about 3 to 6 months with these football clubs, in addition, as a part of your program in sports management. So yeah, if you're passionate about sports and that's what you feel you want to do, I think UK is a fantastic country for you. All right. Any other questions? Okay, I have a question here about are Leverage Edu's services free? Yeah. So Leverage Edu charges a very minimal amount as a service fee to be able to service you, but it's a very small amount with respect to whatever with respect to you getting a job offer in your dream university. So we help you at Leverage Edu with figuring out what is the best fit universities for you, helping you apply to these universities, getting an offer, helping you with scholarships, helping you with visa, helping you with accommodation, with education loans, whatever it takes for you to get to your dream university. And all of that happens at a very minor fee, about 1,000 to 2,000 rupees, depending on how many services you offer. So yeah, practically completely free of charge for you. Right? think there was somebody who came in with a question here. Is getting a job easy or difficult there? So, good thing about the UK is that as a result of Brexit over the last couple of years, about 1.6 million people have left the UK. What that means is UK is looking out for people to come in and run their economy. And who better than Indians, who are the smart people all across the globe leading the biggest technology companies in the world, right? There are a lot of good job opportunities, especially at this point of time in the UK. So as they say in economic terms, it's the perfect storm for you if you are at that point in life you're looking to go do a study in the UK, and UK also at this time being very accepting of international students and giving them the job opportunities that these international students look for. All right. Could you tell us a little bit more about the opportunities post a master's degree program in the UK? So it depends on what master's degree that you do. But I covered a little bit of this even in previously. What essentially means is you get 2 years post-study work visa, and you get job opportunities. Again, every university basically offers has these career fairs wherein companies from around the area and the country come in and have conversations with the students, and which is where you essentially get a chance to interact with people who are providing opportunities, with companies that are coming in and providing job opportunities. And of course, yeah, across different fields, as I spoke before, right? I mean, it depends on what you do your specific master's in. For an MBA, general management jobs, consulting jobs, financial services, supply chain, operations, HR, and all the other managerial roles are very, very specific. If you were to do any specific program, okay, you're saying masters in marketing, right? So yeah, again, you would be able to get jobs in marketing. Again, marketing is a very broader term, right? So in marketing, there is a lot of quantitative element. There are, brand marketing, which goes a lot around qualitative part. There is social media marketing. There are other offline marketing channels. So it depends on what you're good at. Typically, you would find job opportunities on the quant side of it, or on the offline marketing side of it, or say digital marketing part of it, a lot more than say brand marketing part of it, which is a more niche field. And again, it depends on how great you are. If you want to crack it, you can definitely crack it. But yeah, across all these channels of marketing, there are of course a lot of job opportunities out there, and most of our students are quite successful. All right, great. Thanks, everyone. Great chatting with you, and see you back soon in another one of those Leverage live streams. In the meanwhile, keep signing up to leverageedu.com. Have a 30 minutes free consultation with our counselors in case you have any doubts. And keep checking out the Leverage TV platform, which offers more insightful videos like this every day. Bye.